Hello everyone, this is Gordon from Zone 4, or as many of you like to think of me, I'm the Zeppo of the Zone 4 hosting team. And for those of you who don't get that, just email Ron Fortier. He's old enough, he can explain to you the reference. When I'm not hosting Zone 4, you can usually find me writing for a variety of outlets such as I Hear of Sherlock, comic related, obviously. I also have a personal blog, and I write about tech and social good for Chicago Now. I've also been published by Pro Se Productions. Go pick up Tall Pope. And I work as a freelance marketing consultant for nonprofits, social enterprise, and small business. And if you're wondering what social enterprise is, it's not a Star Trek reference. Look it up on Wikipedia. This is Zone 4. And the way I came about with Zone 4 is kind of an interesting story. I actually met Brant at Wizard World in 2008. 2009. It's actually when I first met Chuck Moore and John Wilson. And Brant and I we got to interview Bruce Timm. We saw the then latest DC animated movie. And I actually came across Zone 4. I was a listener. And at one point I guest hosted a couple of times, which was kind of cool. And then I was asked to audition when there was an open host space. And I was reluctant to at first because I thought I just co-hosted it. It seems like naturally of a shoe-in. And I also submitted an audition MP3, which is floating around the internet somewhere. Hi, this is Gordon from Blog This Pal and Comic Related's TV Party, and this is my audition tape for the Zone 4 podcast. And just remember, Brant, you asked for this, so you only have yourself to blame. Thank you. So you're probably thinking, why shouldn't we have Gordon co-host the Zone 4 podcast? After all, I've already been co-host twice already, so you don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of transitioning a newer host. But more importantly, I think I bring a lot. I think I bring intelligent conversation about comics and pop culture. Let me play a little sound clip from the pre-show recording where Brant and I had a little disagreement about dolphins, where I very intelligently and very precisely countered Brant's argument. Just please, hear me out.
Dude, dolphins are intelligent and friendly. Intelligent and friendly on rye bread with some mayonnaise.
So there you go. That's part of the intelligent discourse that I can bring to Zone 4. I think there's also the great chemistry that I share with Ron and Brant. Let me play for you another little clip where Ron and I were doing some back and forth. You know, he asked me a question, and again, that deadbeat, deadpan, straight-on sense of humor that Zone 4 is known for. Just take a listen.
Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering? No!
But more importantly, I think what I would bring to Zone 4 is something that the podcast seriously needs. Sex appeal. I mean, the Nerd Girls kind of sort of have it. Rain Man, Power Hour definitely has it. Chuck has it. I mean, Decapitated Dan has sex appeal. And that's what I bring. And I've got proof right here. This is an actual voicemail that I got on my phone after the last podcast was uploaded from a female listener. Just give a listen.
You, me, handcuffs. Must it always end this way?
Okay, well, maybe that was a little bit too much TMI, but I've loved comics. I've loved them ever since I was a kid. In fact, I can still hear my dad complaining that I read too many comic books, that I was too obsessed with comics. I think of it almost as if it were yesterday.
What have you done? Nothing. Nothing except read comic books. You also lose our jobs on account of comic books. You keep me awake every night with your bad dreams on account of comic books.
But I think the important thing here is that as part of the comic-related family, I kind of feel lost without a regular podcast presence. Yes, I do the monthly column, but I know that for Brant, it's usually a real hassle because I fax him my scrawled columns on big lined paper and red crayon, and he's got to decipher it, and it's a hassle. But I'd like to be part of the fun that is comic-related, and more than just once a month. So I hope you really appreciate the effort that I've put into this audition tape, and that you will seriously consider me a good candidate for co-host. With that, I thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll hear from you and all the lovely comic-related readers out there soon. Thank you, and please, vote for me for the new co-host of Zone 4.
Jerry, you are clearly insane.
And I was accepted, and of course was graciously entered into the Zone 4 family. I have a lot of great memories. We had Mike Barron on early on. We had one of my Who pals, and we talked about Doctor Who. Let's see, so many great memories. I once called out Ron because he had a typo in an email, and I shouted out two of his friends and said, Ron, this is kind of mean because you said they're dead to you. And he said, no, Gordon, that's dear to me. That is a typo. I now do editing for Airship 27 Productions. Draw your own conclusions. And I think one of the great things about Zone 4 is that it's opened my eyes to not only just the diversity of opinions out there, but because of Zone 4, I've actually become a published writer. I've been able to pursue some other writing opportunities. I've had people come into me and say, hey, you're that guy on Zone 4. You're really annoying, and I don't like your opinion, and I hate you, John Wilson. And I have to explain, no. John and I are not the same person. We've had enough of that with Frank Rayner. Thank you very much, Bill Gladman. But John and I, there are pictures of John and I in the same room, so you do not have an excuse to do that. Stop confusing me with John right now. John's hair is longer, and my accent is slightly more unintelligible. But we have a really good team here at Zone 4. You've got the main cast, which are myself, Brant, John, and Ron, or as I like to think of them, myself, Mo, Larry, and Brant. You can read into that what you will. I love those guys. Whenever I'm around them, I'm always grateful that my parents only chose to have one child, which is me, because if I had siblings like that, I'd probably go nuts. But we also have some really great other hosts. We've got really enjoy it when Mike Luoma's on the show, enjoy it when Chris Ventura's on the show, enjoy it when Chuck Moore's on the show. And actually, that would be a really killer, really great intellectual powerhouse of a hosting team. Me, Chris, Mike Luoma, and Chuck Moore. And yes, I did use Chris Ventura and intellectual powerhouse in the same sentence. If you don't like it, deal. But all in all, one of the things I love about Zone 4 is that it's really given me an insight into the alternative comic scene and the comics industry overall. I've always had an interest in the business side of comics, and I think when you look at the field right now, the big two companies are more concerned with media representations of their characters than the actual comics. You look at companies like Image, IDW, Dark Horse, and even some of the really super small local indie comics. There's an explosion of talent and creativity. And I really think that's one of the things Zone 4 brings to the table, is that we make sure those stories are recognized, are heard, and those creators are actively promoted. And that what I'd really love to see for the show is that we really take on some deeper discussions. Things like representation in comics, things about controversy that are less about you were wrong, you were right, but really exploring some of the deeper issues with those comics. But then again, we could just talk about how much Dan Didio sucks as an editor, because that's always good grist for the mill, and that's always a positive, happy conversation. But then I'm kind of a warped individual myself. And so those are my hopes for Zone 4 going forward. I'm really proud and glad to be part of the team. And although sometimes it can get a little hectic and a little tetchy, never mention the words L. Ron Hubbard and writer in front of Captain Ron. Just don't go there. No, don't. I'm really glad to be part of the Zone 4 team, and I'm eagerly anticipating what's going to happen for our 300th episode. Thanks for listening.